Dr. Hovind, I love your doctoral thesis. I've torn it to pieces with house and gaffle. I can't remember when I last pissed myself laughing. It's a good thing the thesis mopped the piss off the floor.
Welcome to part 12 of this read-through and peer review of Kent Hovind's doctoral dissertation, which was published on wikileaks.org on December the 9th, 2009. If you have not yet seen the previous installments, then I recommend that you go back and see those first, as in this episode I will start off exactly where I left off in the last. In the last episode, Kent told us all about ancient philosophers. In this episode, he continues on about Plato. Kent continues. In the writings of Plato, we have a very definite description of the great chain of being, or an order of the world's soul. He taught that the universe is a living creature in itself. Now, that's not as mad as it sounds. The great Carl Sagan once said that life is the universe experiencing itself. But I digress. Plato's idea was not one of ascension in evolution, but one of descending. Kent, the word you should have used there was dissension. Not only does it fit your argument better, but it's actually grammatically correct. He thought that it went from God to man, and on down to the atomic particles. His ideas of putting everything in a nice neat order came from Socrates. Plato developed this further into the great chain of being. Would that be the great chain of being developed by Aristotle? Or maybe it's another one. But anyway, the great chain of being is actually a medieval concept, certainly used in medieval times, by kings to justify their divine right to rulership. So, actually, even though Plato, or most likely Aristotle, came up with the idea, it was certainly well used by medieval Christians. Anyhow, Kent goes on. Democritus lived from 460 to 362 BC. He started a school called the Atomist School. Very good, Kent. Only there's a little problem with that. We'll pick that up in a minute. Kent goes on. Democritus coined the word atom. Actually, Kent, he didn't. He thought that the interplay of atomic particles was all that was necessary to describe how the universe got here. Then Kent puts in brackets the same basic idea as is taught in modern evolution. Well, there's several things that are deeply wrong with that last paragraph. First and foremost of which is that Kent has got the philosopher Democritus mixed up with the philosopher Democritus. Democritus is the student of Leucippus, and for the purpose of this exercise we'll presume that's who it meant. Secondly, modern evolution teaches nothing about atoms and molecules. It is simply the variation of gene frequencies within a species population over time. In fact, modern chemistry and modern physics is where you want to be at if you want to talk about atoms. But we carry on. Next we come to a student of Plato named Aristotle. Yes, Kent, we touched upon him earlier. He was the person who actually came up with the great chain of being. He lived from 384 to 322 BC. Aristotle developed the scale of being. No, Kent, the great chain of being, or the ladder of life, the thing that you went and attributed to Plato. This really is sloppy work. Anyway, he believed in reincarnation, which teaches that after death you would return to Earth as a new being, either higher or lower, depending on how you behaved during your present life. This is very similar to the modern-day Eastern religions. Actually, Kent, I think you'll find that most philosophers of that day and age believed in that. He developed the idea of a world soul more fully and passed it on to many of his students. Aristotle believed in the descending order of nature. Actually, Aristotle simply graded them on a scale of perfection, rising from plants up to men. His system had 11 grades arranged according to the degree to which they were infected with potentiality. Expressed in their form at birth, the highest animals laid warm and wet creatures alive, the lowest bore their cold, dry, and in thick eggs. But Kent continues. He believed in the eternal cosmos, which says that nature has always existed. And that's why, Kent, we consider Aristotle to be a great thinker, and you to be a dumbass. He believed in spontaneous generation, which says that life arose from non-life. Aristotle is known for many scientific discoveries, and no doubt had a great positive impact on the world of science. However, his God was not the God of the Bible. His God was nature. I'm guessing that that is probably because he lived in Greece and not the Middle East, and that he died over 300 years before the birth of Jesus. These things have a really simple explanation when you think about them, don't they, Kent? Aristotle was tutor to a man named Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great was the leader of the Greek Empire in the 3rd century BC. He spread the teachings of Aristotle all around his empire, and for that we are eternally thankful. These men are all part of the Western branch of the evolutionary doctrine. They are also a great deal more intelligent than you are, Kent, and they gave us countless revolutionary and unique and original ideas still in use today. The Eastern branch was also developing during this same time. People had travelled from the Tower of Babel to the eastern countries of India, Pakistan and China. Civilizations began developing there. Beginning around 500 BC, there were at least 5 major religions that were developing in the East. The story gets a little confusing as we try to trace the history of evolution. Kent, it's been confusing for the last 15 pages, and that's generally because what you are talking about has absolutely nothing at all to do with evolution.